Pittsburgh Steelers at pick 17. How has the board fallen? I think you would have loved the three cornerbacks that are already gone. The offensive tackles are, for the most part, gone. Or are they?
Or are they?
Because I really like one guy that's still on the board here, and I think in my final mock draft, it's probably going to be where he ends up.
Now, he's going to end up in this draft right here. I'm going to take Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle from Tennessee, to the Steelers. I think a lot of Steelers fans, myself included, if we were the GMs, we would draft a tackle at this spot. If one of the top four guys are there, you take them. I don't know if the Steelers will make this move of drafting Darnell Wright, but I think it's in the wheelhouse, depending on how the corners fall. But I would love to take Darnell Wright, plug him in at right tackle, move Okafor over to left tackle, and boom, you upgrade two positions on the offensive line. I love it.
Yeah, Wright is a plug-and-play right tackle for sure. And this is where the perfect combination of need and value collide right here with the Pittsburgh Steelers pick. That's a home run, I think, for them at 17 if Darnell Wright is still on the board. Okay, Shane, the Detroit Lions back up again at pick 18. We went with Christian Gonzalez at corner the first time. And remember, Shane, earlier when I said never draft a running back in the first round? I lied, breaking the rules.
Oh,
Bijan Robinson is the best upgrade for this Detroit Lions team, still on the board at pick 18. DeAndre Swift's out the door. They signed David Montgomery. Who cares? Bijan Robinson is the best player to help this team win the NFC North next season. This is a lot better at pick 18 just than it is at pick 6, if for no other reason. Because at pick 18, he's like the 15th highest paid running back in the league. At pick 6, he's in the top 5. So just based purely on money alone, getting him at 18 is a better way to go than earlier. But Bijan Robinson, running back Texas, the pick at 18 to Detroit. I wonder if Brad Menendez is happy about that.
I'm floored that you drafted him. I thought there was no way.
See, I set you up earlier and then come back at.
I was ready at 19. I was ready to take him to Tampa. I was like, I can't let him fall anymore. I don't think the Lions take him. I mean, I think the signing of David Montgomery for 3 years basically negates that. You have him, you have Swift. I feel like a three-headed monster is going to be rough, but at 18, I think it gets attractive.
I will say this. I've listened to Jeff Risdon a lot over the last month, enough to say that he is definitely in play with these first-round picks.
Yeah, I just don't know if you sign Montgomery to that money for a long-term deal and then turn around and he doesn't have a role. Like, it would just be hard to do. But could happen.
Move on from Swift at that point. You trade Swift for a conditional 24 pick or something. Yeah. Maybe get a conditional ham sandwich pick or something.
Yeah, I still like Swift.
Tampa Bay is on the clock now at pick 19, and the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year for Tampa Bay. As GM, I am tempted to take one of the quarterbacks here. We have Anthony Richardson. I think the upside is there. But I'd almost rather just like roll out this, pretty low tier team with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask and hope to stink enough to draft a quarterback next year. I think it's about getting a building block, maybe on that defense. That can help things a little bit, especially down the line. In terms of value at this pick, my top players aren't great fits. So I'm going to go corner here. I think that's a big need for the Buccaneers. They brought back Jamel Dean. They have Carlton Davis. There's not much behind them, and I don't think those two are going to be necessarily sticking around too long. So I'm going to go with my top-rated corner, and that's Deonte Banks, the cornerback out of Maryland. I think he is super physical, has a lot of upside, There are definitely games where he didn't play all that great, but I feel like 19 to 24 range I can get down, and I think it's better than taking another edge rusher, another defensive lineman for this team.
So the cornerback comes off the board here for Tampa Bay. And one more time, who was it?
Deonte Banks, cornerback
Deonte
out
Banks.
of Maryland.
Big speed.
Big speed, big physicality, pushing guys down the field. Deonte Banks is fun to watch.
Deonte Banks is going to go a lot higher. But you mentioned to me several times during this process, you have sometimes liked his teammate, Jacorian Bennett, more.
Well, I think Jacorian Bennett played better, more consistently than Deonte Banks did. I think Deonte Banks has the highest highs as like a potential shutdown corner with the size, athleticism, physicality, speed. I think Jacorian Bennett could end up being the better player. I'd rather swing for the upside in the first round, but I do like Jacorian Bennett as a day 2 pick if I was a GM.
There you go. I'm back on the clock with Seattle. We drafted Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman, earlier. You had this pick. I'm not 100% sure where to go here because I don't know that the value is there. I'd like to get another pass rusher. Miles Murphy could be in play here.
Yeah,
I don't
Murphy,
like
Lucas Van Ness. You're not.
I don't like Lucas Van Ness. He's number 10 on my edge board.
Oh wow!
So he's a lot farther down than I have. A part of me wants to go with an interior offensive lineman here as well.
Double up, just crush it in this draft.
Yeah,
Jalen Carter, boom.
So that's what I'm going to do here. And I don't necessarily know that he'll play center right away as they signed Evan Brown away from Detroit. So let's plug him in at right guard and see what happens. And let's draft Minnesota interior offensive lineman John Michael Schmitz at pick 20.
I like it. I think he's in play for them. I think it's a good pick. Interior lineman, like they're just getting in the trenches. Jalen Carter, John Michael Schmitz, 2 physical monsters in the inside.
They hit home runs last year with Charles Cross, offensive tackle we both loved, and with their first round pick last year, and then struck gold with the right tackle Abraham Lucas out of Washington State in the 3rd round. They killed the draft last year, and if they can have another draft like that again this year, I mean, they could set their team up to, win the NFC West next year, or at least contend with San Francisco, for the most part, and make a playoff run. So Shane's now up with the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is another one of those picks I think could go a lot of different ways here in reality and tonight. So who do we have going to Los Angeles?
I think we all know they need to improve their run defense. I don't see a player on the board that I feel super comfortable drafting here to do it. I guess Brian Breesy's probably my highest rated, the defensive lineman out of Clemson, who seems to be falling down boards a bit. I'm going to go with a position that I don't see mocked to them as much as I think it should, a little bit. But like I'm all about getting Justin Herbert more weapons, and I think that's an important aspect in this. You're bringing in Kellen Moore, and one thing we saw in Dallas with Kellen Moore's offense is a big center around the tight end position. I don't think Gerald Everett is very good. I think the Chargers need a legitimate tight end, so I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah here for the Chargers. I think the receivers are decent. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer's look good in the slot. I think they need that tight end to complete this offense. I like Kincaid's athleticism and, his zone coverage breaking ability would be huge.
On paper, I'm with you on their wide receivers. But as a fantasy owner of Keenan Allen 3 consecutive years, to say his health is a question and his age or whatever is a bit asking a bit too much. And Mike Williams has had health issues or issues staying healthy, I should say. the last couple of seasons as well. So that's my only thing. But I don't necessarily like the wide receivers that are available. I think the best 2 wide receivers are gone. And I don't think Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers are top 30 players on my board.
I like Addison. I like Addison. I might take him here coming up. But after that, I agree.
But I do like Kincaid in this offense. I think he's going to be I think he'd be a high volume target for the Chargers. Baltimore Ravens picked 22 up here, made a big splash this week by giving a Brinks truck full of money to a guy who hasn't played a full season since 2019 and wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. This made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Like it was to get Lamar back. They're going to get Lamar back.
Okay.
Who cares about $15 million when it's just cap space? It don't matter.
Rashad Bateman I don't know that he's played a full NFL season combined in his first 2. Yeah. And Nelson Aguilar, renowned NFL wide receiver, also on this team. So wide receiver could still be in play here, but mathematically I can't make it work. So we're going to not do that at this point in time. Is Lamar going to be back? That's the biggest question here. I'm at this point now, I think he's either going to be in Indianapolis or Baltimore. That's the only 2 things that I think He
hinted he's going to be back in Baltimore.
Yeah, I agree. And even if he's not, I think they roll with Tyler Huntley for a year at least. So quarterback not in play here. Calais Campbell is no longer on the roster, so I feel like they're going to need to get some of that 3-tech, 5-tech pass rush snaps out of somebody here. And I know there's a lot of questions, and I question it too. We've talked about how outliers. We talked about one earlier with Bryce Young, and his size is an outlier of the position. My pick here is going to be Kalijah Cansey to Baltimore at pick 22, and his arm length at that position is 1 percentile at the position. So we're talking outliers here. And I think but Baltimore, maybe they're okay with that.
They might be. I mean, Cansey is an electric pass rusher. So I do like that fit. If there's a team that can make him work, it's Baltimore in that defense.
So there you go. All right. Here's been a common quarterback landing spot here in the first round, Shane, is the Minnesota Vikings at pick 23. Maybe they've come to the realization that Kirk Cousins has been stealing money from them for the last several years. So is this a spot where we get QB3 off the board, or are we going to go another route?
We're taking QB3 here because I think this is the one situation where I would take Anthony Richardson as the general manager. I'm going to take Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida here. You have Kevin O'Connell with an offensive structure that I think works. You have Kirk Cousins, who's going to stick around for a year or 2, still pretty good. Let Richardson sit, let him improve, let him learn. That's what has to happen. And so when you start to get down to the end of the first round, now you have teams that are pretty good. I mean, Minnesota has some holes for sure. The defense is kind of a mess right now, but that's fine. Let's probably not win the Super Bowl with our roster. Let's draft the next quarterback. We'll worry about the defense with the rest of the draft. This is a spot I would like to see Anthony Richardson go to.
Let's say on draft night, Anthony Richardson doesn't go as high as we anticipate he's going to go. At what point, if you're Minnesota, do you start making phone calls? Like where does he have to drop for you to feel comfortable coming up from 23?
I mean, for me, if I was the GM, I probably wouldn't. Like, he has to be there or not, especially, I guess it really would be the 15, 16, 17 mark, right? Get ahead of Tampa is probably what you feel like you'd have to do. But, I probably would make them.
Maybe even Seattle at 20. He could be a play there.
So, but I don't know if they do it. I think they do recognize the holes on their roster. I think the Hendon Hooker mocks them feel ridiculous to me. But Richardson or Levis, I could see it happening. And we've had bigger surprises. Whereas Malik Willis was mocked to second overall in some places last year. So who knows?
Closing out quarter number 3 of the first round of this live What Would We Do mock draft is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Made the playoffs last year, won the AFC South. I would assume the favorites again next year to win the AFC South as well. I think interior offensive line or left guard position in play. I think we both like Ben Bartch coming out of D3 school when he came out, but you can probably improve there. I would consider Osiris Torrance from Florida, the interior offensive lineman here. Maybe Steve Avila from TCU as well could be in play here. But I'm going to add another developmental weapon. And in the guys here that maybe it takes a tight end a year to learn a little bit, to get acclimated to the NFL. But we know what he can do, and that's block. So let's give him a year to develop as a receiver while we've got Evan Ingram on the franchise tag as our receiving tight end. Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia, here to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh my!
You're shaking your head, Shane.
I don't like that fit in this offense. Where you're going to go from Evan Ingram, the receiver playing tight end, to the offensive tackle playing tight end in Darnell Washington.
He's every bit of an athlete as Evan Ingram was, if you look at it in totality. Maybe not straight line speed.
Yeah, maybe not agility either.
Well, but he can. But the thing with Darnell Washington on the field, it's not a dead giveaway of what you're doing.
Evan Ingram's on the field all the time. He's just playing receiver.
Yeah, he's not blocking. So
right.
You have no guys there, no guys at all that Evan Ingram is coming down to block. Like I said, this is not a 2023 pick for Jacksonville. This is a pick looking to 24.
That's fair. I'll leave you with Darnell Washington there. I wouldn't touch him in the first round.
I have no idea where to go there, to be honest. And it is what it is. All right, let's